Hi, my name is Robert Sweet. I'm a certified arborist, a master gardener, and I have a plant science degree from UC Davis. Today we're going to talk about summer pruning of apples. Summer pruning starts approximately June 1st and is suitable through September 30th. This time period will put the work safely past the sensitive leaf sizing up time in spring and well before the sensitive leaf drop time in fall. Summer pruning involves pruning cuts which aid in the height control of a tree, what's called sanitation pruning, that is for removing diseased or damaged wood that's visible during summer, and improving the quantity and quality and placement of fruitful wood. Not all apple trees are good candidates for summer pruning. All pruning, after all, especially summer pruning, involves some stress. Therefore, the tree needs to be healthy, not drought stressed, not saturated soils, not compacted soils, not under excessive disease pressure. Also, a good candidate for summer pruning should be well established in the orchard. This means 3-4 years of good growth. Before pruning, a little familiarity with the different kinds of wood is necessary. This apple tree is about 4 years old in the field. It's begun to bear. You can see some of the fruit over here. First season probably of bearing. There's 3 types of wood I'd like to show on this tree. The first is the current season wood, the wood that did not exist 6 months ago. It starts from here to here. The only buds on it are not fruit buds, they are leaf buds. And they will form other leaves next spring. If we remove this leaf, you'll see the newly formed leaf bud, which is where next season's crop of leaves. I'll remove it now. The second year wood goes from here to about to here. It of course has leaves on it, but also newly formed over July and August has been these short stems called spurs with one fat fruit bud. This one right here is a good example. Here's a close-up of one of about 10 spurs that formed on the second year wood. Each spur has some leaves. It consists of a short, maybe a 1/4 inch long stem at right angle to the main stem, and at the tip forms a fat flower bud. This is just formed in July and August. The 3-year wood, from here to here, and older 4-year, 5-year wood over here, 4-year wood, is currently bearing wood, bearing fruit. also is producing replacement flower buds, as shown, for example, here is, as with the second-year wood, the fruit bud itself that will provide flowers for next spring. In this case, in close position to this year's production, which 12 months ago looked like that. The actual pruning on a tree like this, being in its early in bearing, should be minimal. We're only looking at maybe half a dozen cuts. This is a good example of an open-centered structured tree versus the central leader, which is a higher, more pyramidal shape. As the years go by, far more pruning is going to happen. But for now, shorten this one, and so that's the cut. We have a the powdery mildew here. I'm going to go right back to this fruit bud right there. That's 2. This will probably be shortened, and this one next year, but not yet. There's no, it's not too thick in here, so there's no thinning cuts to open, reduce the density. There's no height control. I know this is the highest part of the tree, but I'm not going to shorten that yet. But next year, probably, it will be shortened, maybe up about there. And there's a few things on the other side, but really that's it. In contrast to the young open center tree we just worked on, here we have a central leader apple. It's perhaps 1 year older, but otherwise quite similar in age. It has already expanded its fruitful volume to about 7 feet. Clearly this is easily picked still, and this is why we shouldn't be afraid of allowing the central leader tree, the open center tree, to expand upward its fruitful volume as well. However, there are a few issues we should address with this tree. It's possible for a tree's branches to already have overextended their fruitfulness. This is a good example. This branch is only a 1/4 inch thick, and it's bowing downward. The proper cut should be right here, getting rid of this fruit and this wood, leaving this slightly 30-degree up angled branch. The same thing's true of this one and this one behind me. They're bearing too much fruit too far out. This is for the lower whorl of branches. We go up about 2 to 3 feet and we have branches like this and this. They also are overextended, but in addition, in the training of a central leader tree, we want to maintain the upper branches somewhat shorter than the lower branches so that sunlight isn't intercepted and gets into the lower branches. So for 2 reasons. 1, too much fruit too far out, and too many leaves too far out to shade the lower branches, we will be shortening this branch and that branch. We'll be making a cut here. It'll get rid of this fruit. I'll also snip off a few of these fruit on the bottom. You'll still have 6 or 7 fruit. I will also be shortening the length of this one, of this one, of this one, and 1 or 2 behind me. Roughly 30% of the fruit will be lost but the overall structure of the tree will be stronger, and there will still be a good crop of apples to harvest in a month. This mature apple tree is a good candidate for summer pruning. It has minimal disease, decent growth rate. We have had a drought, but we've had adequate water to this tree, and it's doing fine. If you're to look at to my left, you will see apples, apples, apples. Reasonable density, good production this year. Versus to my right, otherwise similar looking, but scattered apples, a poorer production. We certainly, through summer pruning, can improve the density of flowers in a part of the tree that otherwise should be producing more fruit. Whereas the pruning, the thinning of excess branches and twigs on where you already are getting plenty of fruit, is all that's necessary. We don't need to recruit a bunch more fruit buds to my left, but we should to my right. We know that there are developing fruit buds in this section where we do not have a particularly good harvest this year. Those buds on all apples form during July and August. Here we are, August 14th or so. So we're still several weeks to improve the quality of the ones that are already developing here, so that there's a better chance that they will bloom successfully and be pollinated next spring. I will conduct the pruning now. I'm going to thin out some wood here to get in to these tall sprouts here. These are intercepting sunlight that can be better used lower in the tree. In addition to light penetration being better, there is, in this case, a damaged wood here, part of sanitation pruning. Remove it. It's very visible because reddish dead leaves show up nicely against healthy green. Now we have better sunlight into both the few developing fruit we have and into fruit buds, which are along here. There's a fair number of them in second-year wood with better sunlight to them, which should result in somewhat higher quality flower buds during next year's spring. Okay. Finally, in this area, I want to do what's called reducing to fruit wood. That is, I'll remove the whole current season wood, cut back a little bit into a spur. There. Like that. Like that. Here. We have this is quite low anyway, not desirable. I'm going to lift lightly the tree's crown. I have fruit buds up here. I'm going to shorten, take off the whole 1-year wood and leave the 2-year wood. I'll do the same thing right here. In each case with these last cuts, I have shortened stems, either causing it to be lifted or slightly lowered, but with a mind towards leaving spurs bearing flower wood. With each removal of a non-productive, overly vigorous one-year sprout, we're getting more sunlight into the matured two-year sprouts. Matured meaning they have fruit buds on them now. Of course, nothing's going to stop more water sprouts from growing next spring. We understand that. This is an ongoing process. The key thing is that as we get these successfully graduated 45-degree angle stems that have flower buds on them, that flower and produce fruit, that most of the energy will be taken up in fruit production itself. And that should limit how much crowding growth comes in subsequent years. In this video, I've tried to show some of the uses and demonstrated the actual doing of summer pruning. We've done some height control. We have tried to adjust the fruitfulness of some of the poorer parts of the tree so they're more balanced in producing good fruit buds to increase production there. We've shown that diseased wood can be removed and is easily seen for efficient removal at this time of year.